Perfect.
Well, we are live. Let's just wait a few more minutes for the people to join. I see Trevor joining in all the way from the United States. Jordi, welcome as well from the Netherlands. Vince, maybe you can send one more message in the community. It's like, hey, we're starting.
Sure.
Let's wait 3 more minutes. I still see some people joining in. There's Trevor from the States. Now he truly is. All right, I think we can just start, right, Vince? First of all, thank you all for joining. Also for the people that will be watching the recording, thank you for joining us. On behalf of ESBC, we will start with a quick introduction about ESBC and what we are doing. And then after that, we will yield over the floor to Pawel. Pawel is the engineering, working as an engineering officer at Chronicle Labs. But yeah, I don't want to keep the words out of his mouth, so he will briefly introduce himself afterwards, and then we will do a deep dive into oracles. Let me just share my screen to get you through our short introduction. Here's my screen. Can you see my screen? Vince, can you give me a good to go?
Yeah, all good.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you all for joining. I saw people joining from different countries. I saw Trevor from the United States. I saw some people from Amsterdam as well. Just shortly about ESBC, for those of you that don't know yet, and also for the people watching the recording, especially our students from Bangladesh, since they are in a different time zone, most of them will be watching the recording. So also for you, we would like to introduce what we are doing with the European Students Blockchain Coalition. With ESBC, we are focusing on 3 pillars, which are shown here on the slide. First of all, the global connectivity, which I guess we can also see through this webinar. There are multiple students from different countries attending, and that's also one of the things we want to accomplish with ESBC. Next to that is a knowledge hub. We will dive into that later on as well, but one of the things we want to accomplish with ESBC is providing knowledge to students by doing these kind of webinars as well. And lastly, event accessibility, which will be shown on the next slides. First of all, the global connectivity. How do we want to accomplish this? What we noticed as ESBC is that there are a lot of different clubs for blockchain or for computer science students, really focusing on education on a regional level. And what we noticed is like, hey, these clubs are pretty isolated from each other. They're all on their own island, focusing on their own stuff. And we thought that it would be great to create a community to bring all those different clubs together. And that's basically where the ESBC was born. We've been onboarding a lot of blockchain clubs for students for the last couple of months. We will go to that slide later on as well, where we will show some of our clubs. And what we have done is we've created a communication channel, as you can see here on the slide, with channels for different countries as well, but also some dedicated channels where you can talk about NFTs, about DeFi, about oracles with students from all across the world. Or let's say, because that's the third point mentioned here, increase your network. Let's say, for example, that we have an event next month in Dortmund, and I'm looking for a place to crash. I could just send out a message to the students in Germany, and they could help me out for a place to sleep over, basically. And also, if I'm looking for an internship, for example, in the States, Trevor, who's attending the webinar right now, I could send him a message and he could help me out for an internship in the States if I would like so. So that's one of the things shortly that we want to accomplish with ESBC, really creating a channel to internet connect students from basically all across the world. Secondly is the Knowledge Hub. Perhaps, Vince, you can take on this one.
Sure, yeah. What brings us here today is the Knowledge Hub that we created as ESBC. Beyond conventional club sessions, right? We have a lot of clubs joining us from all different parts of the world. They do have their own educational sessions already happening, their own events and their own educational sessions. But on behalf of ESBC, we also wanted to create an extra layer of education featuring the most prominent blockchain organizations or protocols within the industry. And last time we did a webinar with ICP. Today we have MakerDAO Chronicle, and Pawel will be joining us. But that is really the second pillar of ESBC, is also decentralizing knowledge. Also giving these smaller clubs, for example, Nijmegen, in the Netherlands the opportunity to enjoy the likes of Chronicle, MakerDAO, but also ICP.
That's great, and that brings us to the last point already. Because yeah, as I said before, we really want to yield over the word to Pawel. But lastly is event accessibility. What we try to accomplish with ESBC is giving students the opportunity to participate in industry gatherings, such as the ones shown on the slide. 2 weeks ago, we went to Paris Blockchain Week with 50 students. We received 50 free admission tickets on behalf of ESBC that were distributed amongst our different clubs. I have to say, we sent out the form like 2 weeks before the event, and after 1 hour, the whole form was
full.
50 students. Yes, so it went quite fast, but it was quite amazing. It was great. We will show some pictures as well. But yeah, you also can see other events here. We will continue to partner with events, making them more accessible for students in the form of free admission tickets, hackathon opportunities, volunteering opportunities. For example, here on the left is the conference happening the 15th and 16th of May. If you would like to join as a volunteer, please send us a message. But we also have some free admission tickets. So yeah, we would love to distribute them amongst the community. And to add on that, event accessibility is really important to us. But what is even more important for us is the physical connection. What we really want to accomplish is organizing a side event for students only during those events. Like every event that we partner up with, we would like to organize a students only side event, bringing together all those students from the different countries. As you can see here, this was 2 months ago during NFT Paris. We came together with students from, I think, Sweden, Spain, and the Netherlands. We partnered up with Ledger and Tezos to give away some exclusive Tezos branded ledgers as well. And it was quite amazing. It was the first ever side event that we did. 2 weeks ago, we did our second side event. As you can see here, we stepped up our game as well. We went to the Ledger headquarters in Paris. We gathered with, I think, about 40 students, and this time from 8 different countries. We had Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Portugal, England, Belgium, France, the Netherlands. And again, of course, this time we partnered up with Ledger, and we gave away some exclusive branded Paris Blockchain Week ledgers. So as you can see, we really like to partner up with Ledger. So make sure, if you want your own ledger, to come at one of our side events, because it's quite amazing to see so many different people from all across the world. And I think that's where also lays our strength, uniting people on a physical level to really meet in person. And that's basically already, to wrap it up, our short introduction. As you can see here, we have tried to show most of our clubs. We do have even more clubs already, so we have to actualize this one. But yeah, thank you all for joining our coalition, because without you, it wouldn't be possible. Of course, also a huge thank you to our partners, this time Chronicle Labs, because yeah, we need also your support in this to make this work, basically. Yeah, we have clubs from Europe on the left, but we even have some clubs on the right from outside Europe, with UEU Computer Club from Bangladesh that just joined us. I think most of them will be watching the recording. So thanks again to all of you for joining. And with those words, I would like to wrap it off. I think we can introduce our guest speaker of today, Vince.
I will bring him on stage, right?
Definitely. Please, everybody, welcome to our guest speaker of today, Pawel Zaremba. I think he will introduce himself. Please, everybody, make sure to enjoy this workshop. And if you have any questions, make sure to spare them for after the workshop, because we will do a short Q&A session as well.
And we will be present in the chat, right?
Definitely.
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. Yes. So hello, thank you for having me. It's really great to see that you guys are building a whole community of people organized around blockchain technologies, because that's what I was looking for when I was younger, and I was looking for groups or communities that do things in the blockchain space. It was not easy, because most of them are trying to just grab your money or free contributions, but actually, fortunately, there are quite a few of good projects and good people, because that's the most important part, people that try to make the world a little bit better with blockchain. We'll see how that goes, but that's my motivation to being in this space. And I am working with Chronicle, and I'm trying to share my screen, but that's also not that easy. Give me a second. I'm working with Chronicle because I was exactly looking for a company that tries to make things a little bit better for everyone. And I think I found it, because it's the longest time I have been in a single company. Like 4 years, it's quite a lot for me. Usually 1 year was the end, the end of any cooperations. Anyway, so this is the presentation. And we are going to talk about oracles. We as Chronicle are building oracles, and I'm an engineer at Oracle. I do mostly backend stuff, so I'm programming in Go, which is used to prepare all of the data that we put on chain. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The first question, and the most important question, is what are oracles and why do we need them? And I wanted to tell you this little story about oracles, that in my perspective, in my experience, oracles, like everything on the internet, everything on the blockchain even, is gossip. At first, they everyone says that they have something, everyone says that they have seen something, or they have a lot of claims, but it is still gossip. And what oracles basically do is they turn this gossip into fact. What is fact? That's also a very important question. A fact to me is, and a fact in the blockchain space, is actually something that you can verify, something that you know where it came from, that you know who sent this information to you, and is it actual? Is it true? And this is the most important part. Like, is it true and is it verifiable? The problem with oracles is that it's super hard to achieve this kind of certain, being certain about the data. So this is the oracle problem as it's presented, like globally, and most people think about it. Like, the whole idea of oracles is problematic because we need to know how the data was calculated, how was it created, and actually who did that. The other thing for blockchains is that you need to know that you will always be able to get the data when you need it. So, for example, if you are running a protocol on a chain, let's say Ethereum mainnet, if you are running a protocol on Ethereum mainnet, the only sensible thing and reliable thing is to also have this data on the same blockchain, because otherwise, how do you know that the other blockchain or the other data source can be will be available when you actually need it? The other thing is security. Security is like super important, because who can change this data? If, let's say, we have a contract on chain that says this value is X, then how do we know? And how do we know who changed this data? How do we know who can update? How do we know who can change the parameters of the oracle in itself? So these are all important questions. The next one is scalability. So if we start adding more and more oracles to what we are doing, does it mean that the oracles will be less reliable? Does it mean that we're gonna have some problems, and will it break if we start scaling it? That's also super important. And of course, nothing is free. cost of updating the oracle, cost of using an oracle is also something every project that needs an oracle needs to take into account. So that actually is, these are actually all of the issues that oracles need to tackle and that oracles need to solve. But the problem is that anyone claiming to have solved the blockchain problem, the oracle problem, is full of, let's be civil here, assumptions. So you have to make some kind of assumptions. You make an assumption on how frequent the oracles are being updated. You make an assumption of who is updating. You make an assumption of the data model that was created and used to create the information you are putting on chain. All of this needs to be analyzed before you choose your oracle provider, whoever it may be. It actually can be you. If, for example, you create a project on a blockchain and you are totally fine with you being the only person being able to update the values, and your users are also totally fine with being able that you are the only one that is updating the values, and they trust you, then that maybe is okay. But another thing about oracles is that why do we even need them? For example, like there was a time that everyone wanted to put everything on the chain. If you put everything on the chain, first of all, it's expensive to do it. And second of all, what for? Because not just because we can, because that makes no sense. Like the only reason to put some kind of data on chain is when something else, a project, a system, or whatever, is using it. So if, for example, in the blockchain space, you have a lot of systems that take your collateral and issue you a stablecoin, for example. So this system needs to know what's the current price of the collateral, let's say Ethereum token or Bitcoin token or whatever. Then this is where oracles come in. If you, for example, if someone wanted to put weather data on chain, okay, that may be feasible, but then the question is, who is going to be using it? Because it's not free to put it on chain. So who is going to be using it? If there is a system that will see, okay, if the weather goes below 0 on Monday, I will issue something, an NFT or whatever, then yes, you need an oracle and you need to for it to be valuable to your users. But if there's no one that is actually consuming the oracle data, there's really no sense of creating and investing into an oracle. And anyone that says, okay, we can have oracles for everything, they're free, cheap, and so on, there's always a catch. And all of these, not all of that, some of those catches I will talk about later on in this presentation. So know your oracles. Most of you, assuming that, of course, and that's another assumption, assuming that you are building a blockchain project, then you would probably need an oracle if you want to issue something, like, or do something, perform an action based on this value or value change. So what are oracle properties? There are quite a lot, actually, and I didn't know that when I started doing this, I didn't know there were so many, but okay, here we are. There is data model. How do you calculate this information? There is consensus type. So that means consensus is how do we agree that this value is fine? Other parameter, update style. Do you update with a multisig, or do you update like automatically when something else happens, or other factors in this area? And then there's authorization strategy, trust assumptions. Oh, these are the super important. Do you trust the people that send the data on chain? That's a very important question. And then you have risk parameters. If you create a model and this model is responsible for then being used into in a system that has something to do with value, whatever kind of value, then you need to take all of the risks that come in with this data model. And of course, gas cost, that's a super important part. All of these properties need to be verified and evaluated in the context of how probable are they are they to happen, and what's the impact of any problems with this kind of any of those properties. So what you need to know is that your protocol is only as strong as its weakest link. So if you have a complex model, if you have a very sophisticated strategy, then you need to find this one little piece that is the weakest, and this is going to be the vector of attack if anyone wants to break your project. So let's get to the more technical part here. Oracle systems generally use the same premise, like high-level ideas to be updated. You have something that collects the data. It creates a value and then signs it with their private key, so you can verify the private if it was signed correctly. For example, on Ethereum, it can be Ethereum private key or whatever else, and then it needs to store it for everyone to be able to get this data. And we are not yet talking about whether we are storing it on chain or off chain, but like you need to store it. That's the basic idea. But there's of course a problem with that. Like you cannot, as you can see, there's only one person or like one entity that's doing that. That's not a good design. Then what Maker has done in the past, we created multiple, as we call them, feeds or validators. We had entities that were totally independent of the protocol that is using those oracles, and those entities were collecting, signing, and storing on chain. What's the problem with this? Well, when the gas was cheap, so when it was easy to put data on chain, it was okay because the consensus, the verifying the value was done on chain, it was fine. But right now, when it's too expensive, we actually need to do something else. So, for example, the second version of the oracles, what it did, it moved away the storing of data for one step from the blockchain. The important part is that we still collect the data, we still sign the data, we still send it around to the network because it's a peer-to-peer network and it's permissionless. We send this data to everyone to verify, but the storing happens also permissionlessly by one entity that collects all of the signatures. How it works, you collect, let's say, 10 signatures out of 20, so 50% at least. You collect those signatures, you create a single transaction, and only that transaction is going to be verified on chain. It's a lot cheaper than to be sending multiple transactions. Like one transaction, aggregated signatures, and then you have you put it on chain. The next thing I can talk about is the goals of Chronicle oracles. So all of those models were I introduced to you, they were simple for the simpler times. But when things get more complicated and of course more expensive, there's a problem and we need to solve it a little bit. So right now we have figured out a way to have a single implementation across all chains that are EVM compatible. And what we have also done, we decoupled the Oracle update cost from the number of feeds or validators that we have, because in the previous image, when the more signatures you had to verify, the more expensive it was, because it was a EC recover on Ethereum. Right now we have of course we have also solved this problem a little bit, or made it better. And the solution that we used, and the solution that is also getting implemented in more and more places, is signature aggregation with the Schnorr signatures. What it does, it collects all of those signatures from the validators. It calculates the correct price, but the signature, the payload of the signature, is not 13 or like 10 signatures. It's only one. And then internally in the smart contract, this one signature gets analyzed and verified. So what we actually save here, we are saving call data. And call data is the data that we send on chain to the contract, is also expensive and getting more expensive. So that's why this furthermore improves the system. I'll give you a short explanation how it's implemented. So we have separate signatures, signature verification, and we are sending that, of course, like separate signatures to the contract. Then we have data aggregation, and that's what we did. We are also sending one transaction to the contract, and this is best for chains that have cheap computation and expensive call data, because you have less call data. And then what we have also done is we developed optimistic updates. How do they work? Well, we collect the proper signature. I see the green tick in the middle. We collect the proper signatures, but only one of the validators vouches for this value. And what it gives us, it's very good for chains that have expensive computation and expensive data. But as you can see, someone could lie about it. So if we have someone that is a malicious actor that was previously trusted, and they say that this bad update is okay, what will happen? Someone else, totally permissionlessly, like doesn't matter who that is, can come in, can take those values that they posted, they can send an update saying that, oh, no, this is not a very good price. We are going to revert that, and like we are not even going to make it final, not finalize it. And what will happen is the person that did that bad update will get banned, and the person that found out will get some reward. So this is a system that we created. But what you all need to know about oracles is the trust. Trust is the most important factor in this. In all blockchains, even if we are saying trustless, but you still need to trust someone. But the best idea is to trust no one, not one person, not one project. You go and you take the reputation and take the data from all of those reputable projects. If you have if you can see like EtherScan, Gitcoin, Gnosis, or something else, you can more or less trust and offset this trust to multiple actors. That's why, and they are staking their reputation. The reputation is their currency. They are not giving us money. They are not giving money, but they are stating reputation. If what they did would be bad, then their project would have really big problems, and like it would be a very like marketing shit show or something. Anyway, apart from reputation, I've talked about data models. We have simple data models. Of course, like we can have for BTC, it's easy. You can get it from multiple exchanges and then just calculate a median. Why median, you might ask? Well, it's super important because if we took an average, every single price in this average would actually affect the final price. When we take the median, that means the medium, the middle value of the choices, then any outliers that we have, anyone that is saying, or any problems that we have, for example, on Bitstamp or Coinbase, will not affect the final price. Only when the majority of those values would be bad, then that would be bad. But there are other ways to prevent that. Anyway, so we have a simple model, or we can have a more complex model where for some values you need a super complex and like sometimes maybe not recursive, but like many levels of a data model to be sure that the value is correct. Because when creating a data model, you also need to look at your sources, or your, as we say, origins here. When you have origins that have very low liquidity, it's easy to manipulate them. So when creating a data model, you need to choose a data and like origins that have very good liquidity, that even if someone did a big trade, that wouldn't affect the price. So as I said, we have also easy like APIs that we query and ask for the price, but we also sometimes go in a more complicated way, but more reliable at the same time. So we just query the data from the chain. We query contracts on Uniswap, what was the last traded price, and so on. So what other types of calculations would be useful? Some of you may know TWAP, so time-weighted average price. The problem with that is that it's not unlikely to actually for this price to be manipulated, because someone can try to keep this price at some level with like not a very low probability for some time, for a few blocks or something, time weighted. So we go into blocks, so we calculate the prices per a few blocks, or like hundreds, but that's another story. And there's a very real probability of manipulation of a TWAP. Of course, again, assumptions. If your system assumes that it is okay, that the TWAP might be a little bit manipulated, but still you have some kind of ways to prevent that as well, then it's fine. But more like in most situations, a median, not average, as I said, should be used, and that's quite a reliable way of like filtering out the outliers. What else? How do you update or how do you control an oracle? It could be an anonymous multisig, but there's a problem. Like, who owns this? Who can do that? Like, when trying to choose an oracle, you always need to think about who is able to give you problems, let's say. And if this is an anonymous group that you don't know who they are and they can do whatever, even in the past they were fine, then there's no guarantee that they will be that forever. So a good way to have oversight over the Oracle applications or Oracle updates is to have some kind of governance. The governance, like a voting system, voting mechanism, can be actually something very very good for Oracle parameter changes. Like, it's for parameter changes, not necessarily the updates, but how do you lower quorum? Do you make the quorum a larger number? Like, all of these decisions on an Oracle, it's always better to do them with some kind of governance system. Then updates. Who can update the price and when? Permissioned updates have the problem that if you have an Oracle and someone needs to be permissioned by, let's say, the governance to be updating that, then what happens when they disappear? Everyone is screwed, basically. So what you need to make sure is that, provided that you have the data and you can always, and provided that you can always get the reliable data and verified data for an Oracle update, then it's always best for this update to be permissionless. So if you have verifiable data, all of the algorithms are fine and they all verify the data, then everyone or anyone should be able to post an update. Another thing, when you have a quorum, 2 out of 4 is not actually a very good number, because 2 organizations, let's say, colluding, it's not that unlikely. And when you are protecting billions of dollars, then two organizations actually will have a lot of incentive to make something fishy out of that. But when you have 13 out of 22, that's another story. And this is how we do it. Like, we have a big group of validators, as I mentioned before. They are reputable projects, and they are updating the values, like sending us the values. And anyone, we are doing that because we have incentive to the oracles to be always working, but anyone can actually take this data and make an update, provided that they have collected 13 signatures. Then the scalability problem. Security and cost divided by cost is constant. What that means is, when you want to increase security, you also need to increase cost. When you want the oracles to be cheap, the security needs to be low. Except when you can devise a technology that allows you to decouple the price from security. So we can have as many as 255 validators, and we can of course scale that more, but like technically right now, without redeploying a contract, 255 validators, and we can have and still have the same price for an Oracle update. And let's talk numbers. I'll show you how much does it cost to update an Oracle. So 50K gas, Chronicle oracles, they use 50K gas, 52K gas to do an optimistic update. That's $2, like $2.50. But if you wanted to use a different system, you can see that they all have like their prices is a lot more. The problem is that you can see down here we have assumptions. What kind of assumption? Gas is cheap and Ethereum is like, okay, more or less 3K. But let's change one of the parameters, which also happens. If the gas was 128 GUI, and it has already happened a few times that it was super expensive, Chronicle update, $20. Anyone else, $150 or $60. So you also, when thinking about oracles and choosing an oracle, you not only need to think about how everything behaves when the conditions are correct, like fine or good. You also need to take into account what happens when there's a problem, when there's a spike. All of this is super important when deciding on an oracle or building an oracle. If you want to be an oracle provider, you can also think of, you also need to think of all of those parameters and issues that we encounter daily. So this is how the price looks for updating an oracle. But the most important part is not actually the dollars, but like how much Ethereum you need to spend. So cheap gas, okay, we're more or less fine. Expensive gas, that's a problem. Next, right now there are two main ways of doing an oracle. One of them is the pull mechanism, aka on demand or off chain, which in my opinion is very unsafe. The pull mechanism works like that. You have oracle data somewhere, not on the chain that your project is on. You have the data available somewhere, AWS or a peer-to-peer network or something, and then your users, when they are doing a transaction, when they want to actually like exchange some money or something, they also take this data. They need to take this data and submit that together with the transaction. What's the problem? I hope you can see that what happens if the data source is gone. And it's really possible that there could be an outage on this data source. This peer-to-peer network could be attacked or DDoS. This AWS or wherever you store the data can be down. Then, provided that the Ethereum or like the blockchain works, everyone has a problem. They cannot do anything, and they get liquidated. Sometimes something else happens. So it is very problematic. And with the pool mechanism, also there's another aspect to that. It's actually a tax for the users, because when we as an Oracle provider are doing the updates, we already have it factored into our business model that we do the updates and the data is available for everyone on chain, on the same chain that the project is on. So because if the blockchain would be down, it doesn't matter where the data is, neither your project nor Oracle's work. If the blockchain works, the data is there. So putting it like using a pool mechanism when the data is not stored on the chain is a very bad idea in my opinion. So putting everything on chain and putting the data close to the project and the user and close to the consumer of the data, meaning the contract, is a super important thing. We as Chronicle, we have been doing oracles since 2017, so that's a long time. And so we have a lot of experience with that. We've done the first oracles. I think that speaks for itself. We have never had an outage because we actually think about all of the things that we discussed earlier today. If you want to go and see our dashboard, you can scan this QR code, or you can go to chroniclelabs.org/dashboard, and you can see how our oracles look like and what data they are actually showing. Maybe at the end I'll switch the presentation to that website. But on that website, for example, you can verify the signature. You can make sure that the data that was signed correctly. If you change even 1 byte in this information, then the validation will not work. So to sum this up, Oracles is making data available to smart contracts during transaction execution. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. If there are no transactions, there's no need for oracles. Oracles, like the good oracles, must be on the same chain as the protocol that uses them. Maker has and created their own oracles, and the oracles are exactly on the same chain that Maker is issuing DAI. So that's a super important factor out of that. And what I would like to also add, do not trust, verify. You cannot trust anyone on the internet just because they are saying they are fine. What you need to do is to do proper due diligence. You need to verify that everything that anyone has said about the oracles and about anything is verifiable, and you need to do it yourself. There is no other way. Of course, you can trust your group. You can have a club that does that and is actually specialized in verifying, but then you need to trust that club. This is a rabbit hole, actually, but the main idea I'd like to leave you with today is do not trust, verify. And if you'd like to get in touch with Chronicle Labs, here's our contact info. You have a Discord chat. We have X, previously known as Twitter, and we have our website that you can also check out if you're interested. And the website is looks like this. So yeah, thank you for giving me the chance to talk to you about oracles today. If you have any questions, I'm quite open and will be here for a while.
Thank you, Pawel. It was a really interesting session, but also a really deep dive for myself as well. It was really a good introduction about oracles. I think the chat also really liked it. We do have some questions. Is it the best way to just speak it out loud, and then you will?
Yeah, I think so. It will be recorded. That's the best way, I think.
I have a question from Moos, which is he's joining from the Netherlands. Thank you, Moos, for your question. First of all, the question is, Pawel, how big is Chronicle? Can you share some numbers, like how many people and other cool metrics to share? Because it says more than 10 billion secured.
Yeah, so we are secure, like on the value being secured. So it's more than 10 billion because when you go to DeFi Llama, for example, you can see we are securing Maker and we are securing some other protocols, and we are of course growing and building our infrastructure and network to support and help some other projects, other groups. And the team right now is 16 people. We are all over the world. And we are still growing. We are very set on making the technology the best it can be. Because we've seen a lot of attempts by our competitors, for example, that they hand wave a lot of things. We are very committed to making the oracles really, really good and robust, so it doesn't make any problems for anyone.
Thank you. I also added for you, Moos, I also added the website link of DeFi Llama, which I think is pretty useful. And maybe a question from my side. Pawel, you mentioned competitors. Could you maybe, from a business perspective, give us a short introduction to your competitors in a way? Like, against who are you competing? Who do you see as your competitor?
So there are quite a few companies, but the main ones that are important and that we are competing, and it's not a cutthroat competition. Like, we want to make the blockchain more stable and more reliable. That means that we need to have more than just one company doing things. But for example, the biggest one is of course Chainlink, that you probably have seen everywhere. And but we are very ready to take on any kind of competition that tries to challenge us, or we will challenge them, because it is important that we don't have monopolies in blockchains.
What is the main difference between you and Chainlink? You just mentioned Chainlink as one of your competitors. Jürgen, I think he's joining from the States. He's also asking, what is the main difference there? You also mentioned Chainlink in your slides. What does make you unique towards Chainlink?
So the unique part about Chronicle is that we try to be very open with everything, and we have everything's public. In what we do, we have you can check the values, you can verify the values yourself on our dashboard. You can actually permissionlessly connect to the peer-to-peer network and also listen for the incoming messages. And we are trying to be reliable and make you see what you are actually using. It's not and there are no secrets around the authority that is able to change the parameters. For example, right now it's MakerDAO is controlling it as a DAO, and we don't have this magical multisig of who knows who that can verify the values. And I think that verifiability is the biggest one.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, sorry, because I saw a question as well from Jeroen. Since you're mentioning MakerDAO as well, Jeroen's question is like, okay, what is the exact partnership with MakerDAO since it said powered by? Could you maybe briefly touch upon that point?
So the relationship is as follows. The oracles from Chronicle used to be part of Maker. We spun out to open up to everyone else. Like at the beginning, the oracles that we have been doing were exclusively for Maker. And right now we are expanding for everyone. So if it was good for Maker, that means it can be good for any other type of project, because Maker is the biggest, and Maker is the oldest, and it has been gone through a lot. So the oracles are exactly the same oracles that Maker is using, and we are expanding and opening up.
And perhaps from a law perspective, because I'm studying law, I know some other law students there as well. How is it from a legal perspective? Is it both? Is it like a subsidiary of MakerDAO, or are it two different entities?
We are completely independent.
Completely independent, clear.
Pawel, you mentioned as well some specs of the dashboard. Could you maybe show the dashboard? Is that possible? Or
yeah, of course.
Okay, wow,
let's go
that's
there.
cool.
So
also
the dashboard.
In the meantime, for the students, feel free to also share questions if anything pops up, since we have answered the questions that were in the chat.
So,
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
This is the dashboard, how it looks like. We can of course have the dark mode, because why not? Nice. And you can see the prices, the individual prices, and you can see how the graph looks like, and you can actually also see what made this price verified. So you can see who posted the data, like which participants were chosen to send the data, and then who from there. Let's go back. From their values, where did we actually get this data? So here you can see, like in Fura, for example, they took the data from Gemini, Coinbase, Kraken, and Bitstamp, and it was medianized. So we took a median out of that, and then we took another median out of all of those systems. So this is how the dashboard looks. These are the oracles, and these are the validators. You can see validators here. You can see DeFi Saver, DYDX, Etherscan. So these are all reputable projects, and they are staking their reputation to when providing services for this. Actually, what is basically a public good. We are facilitating participation in public good infrastructure.
Clear. We do have, I think we do have 2 minutes for any questions. So if there are any students with a question, feel free to drop it in now.
Or even about the dashboard. They can also watch the dashboard for themselves, right?
Yeah, of course. Yes, the dashboard is at chroniclelabs.org. Let me find it for you. Oh, there it is. So the dashboard is here, and you can check this out. chroniclelabs.org.
Perfect.
Yeah, and if you're interested in actually participating more in what we have in the community of blockchain developers as a whole, I can also share with you some other project that I'm a co-founder of, is 𝗖𝗵𝗿. So you guys can check out 𝗖𝗵𝗿𝗀, and there you can see that we have meetups and a conference in September, so you can check those out. And as well, you can of course go to YouTube and check out the recordings of our meetups.
Is there any, if there's any developers here or yeah, even people interested to interact with Chronicle, do you have any Discord groups that are able to join for the audience?
Yeah. Let me share this tab. Yeah, so you can see it here.
Perfect. I have received another question, Pawel. Is it okay to answer a last question and then we will wrap it up?
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. It's from Fenne. Her question is, I think it's her. You talked a lot about data models as well. You did in the beginning, but is Chronicle also using language models or ChatGPT when building data models or using AI in any way?
Not right now.
Studying AI.
Not right now. AI is not there yet. That's we don't trust AI enough for it to be doing those models, and we would need to verify them on our own anyway. So right now, no, but we'll see what the future brings. If the LLMs get better and better, and they can figure out a way to verify things, because as long as if the LLM is limited to its own knowledge that it has already scraped, that's not good enough. It needs to be able to scrape knowledge in live, like in real time, to actually be helpful to determine if that's good. Because what we also need to worry, and like not worry, but take into account is how the liquidity and how the validity of the data models changes in time.
Clear.
Quite interesting question, but difficult to ask. And indeed, yeah, I think the future of language models is still bright, but as you said, perhaps not ready for it now.
Yeah. It's nice for fun and games for now, and I'm okay with that.
But good question.
Maybe a good question, since we are focusing on students. If anyone was really enthusiastic about your story and would like to end up at Chronicle, is there any way for them to, yeah, of course, is it just they can send an email to hello@chroniclelabs.org, or can they reach out to us and we can bring them in touch with you, Pawel? Or
so we have the Discord would be probably the best, and we do have a job posting right now. I'm sorry I don't have the link for that here, but maybe we can share later. We are looking for a full stack developer, remote, of course, but close to the Central European time zone, or like willing to work in one. So yes, like I'm thinking the Discord or an email, a cold email, maybe that would work. But oh yeah, exactly what you found here. Discord is also a good place to start looking at Chronicle.
Perfect. I see also that you're looking for a junior smart contract developer. So if anyone's listening and says like, hey, I really liked your story, make sure to reach out, or just make sure to join their Discord for any other questions. I think Pawel would be more than happy to answer your questions within the Discord.
And not only me, we have 16 people, as I said. So like there's many people to answer your questions.
Perfect. Well, if there's no other questions, I think we can wrap it up.
I do think so. Pawel, on behalf of the whole of ESBC and of all students from all over the world, thank you for your time and for your insights regarding oracles, and also every student that joined us today and will be listening to the recording. Also on behalf of Rodrigo and myself, we're really thankful. We're really proud and happy that you joined us today with our webinar. Hopefully we will see you in the next months with our other educational webinars.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a nice evening.
Live long and prosper, as I say. I'm a Trekkie, you might probably notice.
Thank you, everyone. Ciao.
Yeah, bye.